So, people need a serious attitude adjustment about equating a person's living situation with their worthiness as a friend or a potential partner. Think about how many jokes you have, like in movies and TV, about, oh, well, but you live with your mother, you live in your parents' basement, you live on this couch. Or even just in everyday life, you find out somebody doesn't have a job, doesn't have a stable living situation, and that is a deal killer for you. If you're not willing to accept that that's inherently classist, that's a problem. How a person is doing financially does not make them unworthy of love, of dating, of being a friend. It makes it more complicated. And yes, you can have serious boundaries about that. But I think that there's another article that I'm going to link to called The Myth of the Mooch. I think that people have this idea that if there's financial inequality in the relationship, that one person is going to be taking advantage of the other. This is also where you get phrases like gold digger. And I'm not saying that this phenomenon never happens, but I'm saying that I think that people have a conflated idea of this, and that it's perpetuating a lot of classist attitudes, and it's making the divide between the classes even more of a chasm of understanding, so that we can't even reach each other, we can't even talk to each other. So it builds up a lot of fear and resentment and shame and just lack of understanding and a lack of valuation. And classism hurts everyone. This is the thing, even if you're economically privileged, classism hurts you. Because your worth as a person has nothing to do with where you live, how you make money, how much money you have, your possessions. Your worth as a person has nothing to do with that. Your worthiness of love, of friendship, as a dating partner, it's not how much money you have. It's not where you live. It's not how you live. Back to couch dwellers. Don't engage with mocking and judging people for their living situation. Just don't do it. Just don't engage in that. It's classist humor. It needs to stop. If there's a person who happens to be poor, to live on a couch, and they consistently behave badly or hurt other people, fine, judge them for their shitty behaviors. But don't bring their economic or living situation into it or associate it with what you don't like about them. So, in other words, if you don't like someone and they live on a couch, don't make it about them living on a couch. If you don't like someone and they don't have a job, don't make it about that. And don't presume someone is lazy because they don't have a job. Don't make it about that. Make it about what it's about. If you make it about their living situation, you're perpetuating your own ideas of classism and the cultural ideas of classism, and saying that it's okay to dislike people for their class, for their living situation, for their economic situation, because at the end of the day, it's not you that is living on a couch. It is not you that is living like them. It's not you that doesn't have a job. They are the only ones suffering the consequences. Well, and maybe the person whose couch they're living on, but that's between them and their couch. That's between them and the person who owns the couch. If you're the person who owns the couch, you can have the conversations with them and say, like, okay, I've reached the limit of how tolerant I am of this. But this is just basically about hating people who live on couches. This is about making jokes about them. This is about judging people for their living situation when you're not actually paying the price for this. If you are paying the price for this, then yeah, that's a whole other conversation though. Recognize that someone else's living situation and behaviors that don't impact you. So it's not your place to judge. They're the ones going home and living their lives at the end of the day. And it doesn't reflect their worth as a person. Please stop making jokes about people who live on couches or live in basements. Please, 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 please. And if you hear other things like that, challenge them. Have a conversation with people about them. Say, well, what's behind that? I mean, is that how you really feel about someone's living situation? If something bad happened to you, and especially in this country where, most bankruptcies are due to medical bills, God, don't even get me started on that. What if something tragic were to befall you and you wound up losing everything, just as I did? Tragedies befell me. A series of unfortunate events left me extremely poor and homeless, living invisibly homeless. But that did not make me less worthy as a person of love, of friendship, of belonging, of respect. It's taken me a long time to figure that out for myself. But unfortunately, my figuring that out for myself doesn't mean that other people are also tuned into this. And it kind of goes against the entire cultural narrative around people who have less than ideal living situations. And so that's where I want to challenge it. Stop making jokes about it. Stop judging people based on those things. If you don't like someone, don't like them for the impact that their behaviors have on you and on other people, but not for the impact that their choices have on themselves. It takes conscious awareness to notice your own bias and the cultural bias toward those who have substandard living conditions, who don't have jobs, and whose appearance reflects lack and neglect. But I feel that it's an important awareness to have, especially because poverty could hit any one of us. No matter how comfortable, no matter how safe you feel, it could happen to you. And I know that's really uncomfortable. And I'm sorry, but there's some discomfort that you're just going to have to sit with and realize that, yes, economic standing is fragile and changeable. Circumstances change.